Welcome to Chasing the Insights, the podcast designed for you, the marketer, the entrepreneur, the small business owner. I'm your host, Vince Warnock, and in each episode, we talk to the biggest and brightest brains in marketing, extracting every ounce of insight to give you that unfair advantage as you grow your business. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to another episode of Chasing the Insights. How you all doing? Thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy day to join me, Vince Warnock, here with you to talk to some of the most experienced and talented people in the industry. And you're going to be very excited about this episode because I'm about to introduce you to Peter. But before I get into that, very quickly, I don't want you to miss a single episode. So whatever platform, whatever app, whatever tool, basically, however you're listening to the show right now, if you haven't already, reach out and give that subscribe or follow button a push. That way you're notified every time there's a new episode. Anyway, my friends, we are not going to muck around with this episode because you've seen the title of it and you are hanging on the edge of your seat wanting to know more because we're going to be talking to Peter O'Donoghue about how to get your next 5 high-paying consulting clients. Now, Peter works with entrepreneurial consultants who are usually under the 1 million revenue point and relying on outdated methods or no methods at all. So he comes in there to help them proactively create a predictable source of new clients. And by the way, who doesn't want that? Now, apparently, Peter draws on 25 years of experience growing technology companies and professional service-based companies. But when you see Peter, there's no way you started when you're like 5 or 10 years old, Peter. So I'm calling BS on that already. But anyway, Peter grew a sales training company that he hated and was glad when Google algorithm change wiped out all the business overnight, and that taught him to never put himself in a position to sell time. Now, in addition to all of that, get this, Peter took some time out to race around the world in a yacht race, spending 11 months at sea. So as you can tell, he loves adventure, loves mountain biking, all those kind of things. Definitely not the same as me there, Peter. So, Peter, thank you so much for joining us on the show, man. Honestly, absolute honor having you here with us.
Oh, Vince, thank you very much. You're way too kind. Certainly, I'll be questioning your honesty about the age thing there.
Hey, it's the best way to endear yourself to people. Tell them they look younger than they really do. And next thing you know, you're simple, man.
Dear. There's definitely, when people see this, there's definitely there's a phrase in consulting about having the grey hairs, and I've definitely have that. Although it reminds me, I did a podcast probably about 4 or 5 years ago, and the guy did the podcast with sent the picture off to his editor, whoever it was, for editing. And when he put the podcast up and the picture that I'd given them, I had grey hair, but they kind of made it this orangey, fake brownish, and it looked horrible. But it was a great podcast. So what you do is so there we go. But thank you very, very much. It's absolute pleasure.
No, thank you for having us here. And I will just say, like, honestly, the grey hair thing, as a bald man, I get a little bit jealous when people have a massive head of grey hair. I think it looks so distinguished. It's awesome. Anyway,
I just want to caveat there is I don't have a massive head.
Of hair. Anyway, I'm very excited about this, Peter, because we are going to be talking about how to get your next 5 high-paying consulting clients. And as I said, everyone's seen the title of this episode. They're all hanging on everywhere. They're all telling me to shut up right now, so you can get started and tell them exactly how they can get those 5 high-paying consulting clients. But before we do, just calm down, everyone. Before we do, Peter, everyone's going to have their own interpretation of what a high-paying consulting client is. Everyone's going to have their own interpretation of that. When you're talking about this, what is your definition?
Yeah, so for me, my clientele and the people that I'm best suited to working with are usually B2B consultants. Yeah. So in a B2B, as opposed to coaches. And I know your audience, you do have coaches and consultants as well. So for me, a high-paying client is really wherever that service is. You look at, sort of 100, 200, 300,000 for me pounds. Yeah. It is, a typical, for the clients I work with a lot, which are sub 1 million, everyone wants to chase the 800, the 100,000 pound deals and bigger. But you just got to look at where you are in terms of development. And it's like, so typically it could be, 50, 100K plus as your, what I call your core offer. And we kind of go deep into very early on. So one of my premises is, get five clients. But what most people don't do is a very attractive front end offer. And that front end offer can be anywhere, 5 to 100,000, but that's just your front end offer. And usually it's around about 10% of what I call the core offer.
Yeah.
So for an example of that, at a client many, many years back who were consulting into the aerospace industry. And they were both a huge success and a failure for me at the same time, because the remit of them working with me was to get them meetings and appointments with senior people in global airlines, which we did. I've still got the screenshots of their business development guy going, "Oh my God, I've got the CFO, COO of Lufthansa replying to my email, in 2 days, like unheard of. I've got this coming. But the reality is, unfortunately, I think I heard the consulting company actually went to the wall a couple of, 2 years later. And because their offer was like their front end offer was 500,000 for a diagnosis. And to do that, they had to get, maybe 5 to 10 people in a country. And then they had to analyze at least 5 different countries to do that. So you're looking at, before you can make your first sale, you're going to engage 50 people, say, or 25 to 50 people. So
Wow.
That's the challenge. So for me, you're looking at that, 50, 100K plus, but in respect of where you are really, and that's the thing, so if you're a solo consultant, a 25, 30, 40, 50K deal, but 10 of those in a year is better. I teach consistent cash flow as well. So it's probably a really long answer to a very short question. There's no one numerical value. But it's looking at your overall offer in. So it's joined up as well.
Yeah. No,
so
I always talk about it, Peter, as being like a slither. So if what you teach with or what you're offering with your main program is, A to Z, then take out maybe D or maybe S, as a thing. Take that out as a slither and offer that as your kind of lower ticket item. It's just because if they get the wins with that, if they understand the value that you're adding to them with that small offer, then obviously they think, hey, what would it be like if I had A to Z? Like this would be amazing. So I love this.
And I've done some of my, I guess my listeners or clients into service, again years ago, because I used to call it a foot in the door offer. And that's wrong really, because people took that and they're like, right, we've got to create anything to get our foot in the door. And no, you don't. That's definitely the wrong way about it, because you have to create if you're doing that, you've got to create something that naturally leads on to the next sale and the next sale. But also it's just like, I find consultants are drawn into like the bigger deal size, the big deal size, but you've also got a cash flow of business. So, I would prefer some of my clients to sell 4 or 5K deals in a month that can cash flow a salesperson or someone to deliver a front end offer to allow them to take the step back. So, there's no ego around what is a high paying client, but it's, it's not an 800 quid come in and train our staff for a day type thing.
I love that approach as well, because it really does de-risk a lot of the sales process that you're going through. Because if you're chasing that $800,000 deal, you're working for months and months on that with a team, and it falls through, which does happen. You're back to the drawing board. You've invested so much in that already, and you've wasted, or at least not been optimal with that time and that money. So I love this. And I would just like to clarify, I know we are talking very much about B2B clients here, right? And this is where you're the expert, Peter, but you and I had a good conversation beforehand around what we're going to cover here and the whole process of this. And I can tell you now, this is transferable to coaches. This is transferable to consultants. It's even transferable in a way to B2C. You just have to think a little bit different there. So talk us through then. Everyone's dying to know now. They're all going, okay, what's the process? Talk it through to me, Peter. If someone come to you, anyone listening to this came to you and said, Peter, I want those 5 high-paying consulting clients. Help. Where do we start?
Yeah, I think I'm going to shock people with the simplicity because it's simplicity applied with consistent effort. So first thing, stop 80% of what people are doing. So I'm a big believer of context. So when I speak to a lot of clients, if they're sub 1 million, they need one, what I call a growth engine. But most are trying to do all these different things that big marketing companies are doing, or big companies with marketing departments and lots of staff are doing.
Yeah.
But with no context of why they're doing it. So most of the time, you just get them to stop most of those things. So firstly is identify and get absolute solid clarity on your ideal client profile.
Yep.
Who is your target audience? And for most consultants, that might be 5,000 companies, even less, so then you're really in the realms of being able to target efficiently, because it might be a technology stack they're using. It might be, a stage of development, or whatever it is. But for most organizations in that consulting where you can come down, I've had one client, it was like they were targeting 150 organizations. So, get clarity, process out a number of different people per organization. So step one, get absolute clarity on your ideal client profile. Step two, create an irresistible front-end offer.
Yeah.
Part of a linked overall strategic offer in your business. So it's an offer that is looking at one specific pain that an organization is facing.
Yep.
And then this is the third part, is the golden magic to all of this. You go and contact people.
Yeah.
It's just like shocking. So if you imagine, if you're a B2B consultant, say, and I know this, I've worked with tech and SaaS, and same applies.
Yeah.
Okay, look. So you've got 1,000 target clients. Each one of those, you might have 4 key people that you've profiled. They're in what we call the DMU, decision-making unit. As your best guess, people in today's society whose job titles would match the responsibility of owning the pain.
Yep.
Probably 5% of those 1,000 companies are in the stage of awareness where they either are looking for a solution or they understand they have a pain. If you're sub 1 million as a consulting company, you don't want to be educating the market.
Yeah.
So, if you've got something really thought leadership, inspirational, tie it back to a known pain, because it's going to take you a long time to get in an unknown pain, and you don't really have the time or the ability to cash flow that if you're sub 1 million.
Yeah.
So identify a known pain, target the organizations, and approach them, and do then that consistently for 90 days.
I love how simplistic this is, but also incredibly accurate and effective as well. So let's kind of talk about this, because you talked about the idea of creating that irresistible front end offer, but that it speaks to one problem that your client has. How do we know what that one problem is? And I know this is different for every market and every client, but what process will we go through to say, okay, I understand my ideal client, they've got like half a dozen different problems. How do I know which is the area I should focus on?
So you either know that intuitively. Most consultants, certainly, they come from the industry. If you look at, say, the difference between consultants and SaaS entrepreneurs, SaaS entrepreneurs are hunting for the problem and they don't care the industry that it's in. They just want to build a business. They want to build a SaaS product, and they'll hunt the industry and the pain. Whereas most consultants come from we have consulted in aerospace, we've consulted in insurance or banking. So you either intuitively know it, and that's fine, most do. Some miss it because even though they are what I call world-class consultants, they've been a couple of steps away from the origination of why they're running those projects. So I've had clients who were running global projects, people that and these people are, up there, but they didn't understand the organizational pain of how those projects were originated, because they were the deliverers. So, if that's the case, then it's again questioning and understanding why the projects you've worked on before were originated. If you really don't understand, and that's fine, now it's time to do a bit of work. So I teach my clients a process called client insight interviews, which is, again, don't overcomplicate the process here. You know your ideal client profile. You profiled 500, 1,000, 2,000 companies. You profiled 2 to 4 people in each company. Contact them and ask to interview them. The hard part is taking the step back when you get on a call with them, and you really have to approach it with a view of, I'm taking a step back. I'm not going to pitch and sell on this one. And I'm really going to ask them and chunk up about a day in their life, what's taking their priorities, because it's no longer about the problem in the zone of what you solve. It's also about what else is taking their importance, their budget, their time, their necessity. Because while we all think we fix problems that are really important, in the context of the other businesses that you're targeting, there might be something equally important, if not more important. And while yours is important, if it's not high up on the scale right now. So you either know intuitively, or you've got to do a little bit of work to mold what you know, or client development insights. Go and target 20 to 40 people, interview them 45 minutes, get them transcribed, and then they will be your first pot of clients as well once you do that.
I love the fact that, we've identified our ideal clients, and now we're trying to work out what that problem is that we're going to fix. And it literally is the exact same step as the last one. Go out and talk to people. Actually understanding your clients. You just can't avoid it. All of those people that sit there go, I don't want to call my client. I don't want to contact them. It's exactly how you're going to find the problem you're solving. It's exactly how you're going to sell to them and things as well. So, okay, we've gone out to, say we've done a bunch of these interviews, we've used our insights and we kind of understand the problem that we're going to solve. How do we turn that into an irresistible front-end offer?
Cool. So you now know the problem. You should know the impact it's having in the business. You should now be able to translate that. The last thing clients want at that stage, if you want to get in there quick as well, is to be presented with diagnosis phases. That might become a necessity to deliver your overall project. Yeah. But if you want to be able to go in, most consultants are still bound up in we get inbound. Therefore, the first conversation we're going to have is a 55-minute spin questioning based process where we just ask a lot of questions. But when you're a little bit more proactive and you're going out to target prospects, you don't have the trust yet, you don't have the time, you don't have the ability to run that process. So you've got to take something to them. So if you know the problem, you have to now develop the shortest possible way that you can solve that problem. Not all the other things that you do, just fix that one problem and run that. So that can be, that can be a road mapping session. It could be an on-site consulting piece. It can be, a fixed piece of work. But whatever it is, it has to have a short time frame. Short is contextually bound by the consulting practice. That can be days. That could be a sprint of 12 weeks. Whatever it is short for you. Typically 10% of the next phase. So if your larger consulting project is $500,000, then that front end piece can be 50. If it's 50K for the next one, it could be 5, 10. It's entirely up to you. But it has to give substantive return. And again, from a marketing perspective, we typically think of 10 times return on an investment. So if it's a 10K front-end project, then, a demonstrable 100K return in a very short space of time. And then you have to be able to put that in a pitch deck. You have to be able to say, here is something substantive that other people have done. There's results, obviously, if you can. And then there's, here's the time frame. Here's how we onboard you. Here's how we run it. The end of that period, here is what you will get. Here's your investment. And then the magic words. Do you want to go ahead with that?
I love that. Nice and simple. I love what you've done with the offer, though. So the offer itself, I mean, you're already automatically adding value because you can deliver on that. You're going to give them that substantive result. But the other thing, too, is then by doing that, you're going to kind of almost sell that within the organization even more because you're proving the results and you're coming at them with all the social proof as well. this is fantastic. Okay. So it
gets a little bit, I won't say sneakier, but you just think, as consultants, we are, some of the most brain function orientated people So what do you need to do then is obviously you look at, so there's two things to that. So firstly, you look at how you design that front end process. If you're really smart, you'll design that front end process as a necessity to deliver the results that you say you're going to get. you need to get all of the key people in the business involved in a room with you or involved in the process. That will be the sign off for the next phase of your deal as well.
Yeah.
So that's one, you need to be smart there. And then two is just understanding your metrics, because I'm not saying do this, because we were chatting earlier. I'm a big advocate of using front end deals to cash flow your leaders in a business to step out of this front end piece so they got more time. But what you can also do, you can strategically think about these, whether you want to see them as a cost of sales or a cost of delivery. It's a bigger piece of a discussion. You don't necessarily need to make any money from these, because once you understand the numbers and the metrics, you can sell 2 a month at 10K, but know that even 1 in 3 goes through, then you can make a call on how much money you need to make out of those 3 10K deals.
Oh, this makes perfect sense. I mean, it will make sales a lot easier anyway, because your initial that irresistible front end offer really is something that has to be that can be less considered than your main offer, because obviously you're not talking about as heavy an investment you're talking about. But the other thing is, by giving them the results, by actually delivering on this project and giving them results, and as you said, you've got those key stakeholders for the next phase all involved in this. That means technically, you've just made all of those key stakeholders look good, because every single one of them has now actually managed to get the result, because they were all part of this project, got the result that you promised them. So now, signing up for the next thing, they're all going to think, I'm going to look even better for this. I don't want to miss out. Everyone else is, we look good in this. If I say no to this part, everyone else is going to look good and not me. I see what you mean about irresistible offer. It's not just an irresistible offer, it's an irresistible result as well. So this is fantastic. Well, now we get to the complex part, the part that requires so much skill and training and years in the front line and, so many PhDs. And now we're talking about talking to them. And immediately when we say those words, talk to them, the majority of the people listening to this tense up a little bit, because none of us want to have to go out and talk to our clients, because, they might reject us and we might have our own insecurities and fears. So how do we approach that talking to them? We put that offer together. Do we email it to them, then follow them up? Do we meet them face to face, give them talk us through a bit of the process?
Yeah. So typically, most people get too hung up on this.
Yep.
So I've got a program called, Get 5 Clients in 90 Days.
Funny that one. Yeah.
Most B2B consultants can generally do it from, don't have to go to the cold network anyway.
Yeah.
So what we call, ghosts. So people that they've engaged with before, if they've got any history in their consulting practice. So people that they've engaged with on a project of some shape or form that has gone cold and ghosted them. People that they've done projects that are slightly different to this front end offer.
Yeah.
So there's a huge stack of people there. People in their warm network. People that they were a consultant with on a previous client who is now employed by a client that would be, most consultants have a very wide network. So, typically you don't have to go to the cold network.
Yeah.
If you do, then, you've got your LinkedIn first degree connections, which you can take this to. Most people can do a 300 to 500 person list of those 3 buckets. If you then have to go outside of that, the reality is the contact mechanism isn't the major thing, because 1, it's a mindset.
Yeah.
1, 2, it's consistency, because 10 a day, 5 days a week will get you more results on this than you've ever done before, because no one is doing anything. So, and then I don't care whether it's on, whether you text them, tweet them, LinkedIn them, because it doesn't matter. It's your mindset and it's just consistent application. However, some people go, but I want more than that. Well, obviously that's the case. And it really is, LinkedIn is the easiest. So you generally have LinkedIn because you can do in-mails. But I'm not talking about, obviously the connect and pitch with a spam pitch, as most people do. But LinkedIn is the easiest. You can leverage in-mails to do that. Cold email, it's very, very easy to find anyone's email address now. And most people go, cold email doesn't work. But yes, it does. Most cold email doesn't work because it's shite. Yeah. But if you can reach out to people and say, hey, we believe there's a large percentage of the marketplace, and you may be one of those that is suffering from this issue. The result of that is this. We've got a couple of ideas around that. We'd love to get your input, or if you want to be more direct, we think we've developed a solution to solve this. Yeah, of course you won't hear from everyone, but you don't need to. You need to. I look at the metrics. To get 5 clients, you need to pitch to 30 approximately. You can be much better, but the other thing is most B2B consultants typically aren't good at sales, and they fear that, and well, I got to learn all this. You don't have to, and that's not the point, really. I prefer my clients not to learn and spend a long time learning sales. Create an irresistible front-end offer that solves one pain, put it in front of people, and ask them, do you want to go ahead with this? And you don't learn to be a super salesperson, because that is enough. But what you then need to do is amp up the numbers a little bit by consistency. So if it's the right problem, the right pain, put it in front of 30 people, you'll close 5 of those as clients. And if you don't stress it. You just got a little bit more work to do on the pain that you're addressing, and or the front end problem that you've developed to solve the pain.
I love how simple you've made this sound. Despite the fact that I know most of the people listening to this are still apprehensive, and they're apprehensive because of many different reasons. But talk us through what you've seen, Peter, because you deal with this all the time with your clients. What are the things that generally hold them back from this talk to them piece? What are the things that cause them to doubt themselves, or cause them to hold back from actually, contacting people, DMing them, or ringing them, or whatever else?
Yeah, that's quite a broad spectrum, and I know where most people would like me to start, but I'm going to start the other end, really, sort of the unobvious one, which is not having an offer. And I've made this mistake in a number of businesses before, and it's like you fall in love. Sometimes I'm a little bit more in love with sales and marketing than many of my clients. You fall in love with the process I do, the sales and marketing. But, it's the process, but you don't have anything to offer them. And that's the same for a lot of my clients is, look, create a product, if you like, in your front end offer that is easy to give a pitch to someone. And even the word pitch, I love the word pitch now. But most people don't, and they get it's like, we're consultants, we wouldn't pitch, we hate to be pitched to, but whatever you call it, your a pitch is a presentation of an offer, and like I love
the way you just described pitch then, because like I said, a lot of people don't like that word, but that's because they have bad experiences with people pitching to them, and they feel like that's what a pitch needs to be. But like you said, it's actually just presenting that offer. I like that description. And I'm so glad too that during this you've talked about, when you talk about LinkedIn, you talk about reaching out to people, you mentioned the words "don't spam." And I have seen, you and I could do an entire episode on really poor DM practices in LinkedIn, because we've both probably received them all. But when you see one that is masterfully done, that uses permissions-based marketing, that asks for a response from them, that you can go back and forth, that's when even if you're being marketed to, you're being sold to, you're still open to engaging in that conversation because of the way it was done. So that's super powerful.
So there's one extra. So the original question is, what stops people? So I went kind of the other end is because they don't have an offer. So it's this whole fear. If I get into this, we've got to go into a diagnosis, create that offer to make it easy. But then it's the mindset, and two, it's just the application, and those are the two others. I'll go off on a slight tangent, but it may help people, because now it's about the intelligence. You were talking about, masterly crafted pitch. There's this thing, sometimes, my background as well. We didn't talk a lot about my background, but I worked with a lot of enterprise technology companies and then software as a service companies. And sometimes the things we did there, I almost feel like what would happen if, like Darren Brown went back 1,000 years, and with things that he could do, the things that technology companies do, if you apply those into professional services, they can go like that. So one is what we call this concept called trigger events. So trigger events is monitoring changes in other organizations that would move from a position of not being interested in your offer or not being interested in a solution to a right at this point of time they would be interested, whether they know they have the problem or not. So these are what we call inflection points. So they can be things like going through a merger and acquisition, a management buyout, just got funding, profits increase, profits decrease, leasing, a growth in leasing, payments, all of these things, a sudden escalation of employees, a hire, all of these different things. So what we call trigger events. Technology is another one. If they take on a major ERP system or all of these things are indications. And I'm a true believer that most consultants can use one of those as a proactive way. Even if it's like, okay, so you look back at your last client base over the next period of time, you go, actually, do you know what triggered their need for this? Well, mostly it's because they've taken on this ERP system 6 months before. So, and that has changed the way that they do business. Therefore, they start bringing in our style of consultancy. It's absolutely easy to find data on people who then implement the ERP system. Now you've got a 6-month window of start contacting them, engaging them, saying, hey, typically you don't know this, you've got this problem and you may never have it. But, statistically, 65% of companies that take on this ERP system are going to have this problem. When you get that problem, we usually get called in to come and fix it. Do you want to speak to us before you get the problem?
Nice.
It's like,
I love that. Yeah.
And I'm a strong believer that there are so many of these inflection points, we call them trigger events, that any B2B consultancy can find those. In fact, any business can find them. You talk about B2C, it's the scary world of Facebook knowing that you're pregnant before you're pregnant, all of these things. And that's what it's like, but in a B2B context.
Yeah, I love this. This is what I love about talking to masterful salespeople as well, because honestly, you made that sound so easy. And everyone listening to this as well was going, actually, I can see these kind of events in my own business, in my own client base and things as well. So
the big thing where people fail is this middle piece. So, you can get all this data.
Yeah.
But it's worse having all this data and all this opportunity if they're going to fall into it and you can't contact people. So that's why I've always, get my clients to try and cash flow, bringing other people into the business to do this for you. Because, when you spot it, you need to action on it. You need to have the process I give clients, whether it's a way to find their email address, contact them on LinkedIn, all of that stuff's kind of irrelevant, really. It's just the person that is going to go and do it for you. That's the whole stuff. So with all of these things, you can have all this front-end opportunity. As long as you can translate it into someone or something to do it for you, it will turn into opportunity.
I love that. And who doesn't want opportunities? See, I knew there was going to be a problem talking to you. I think I even said this to you, Peter. You and I can talk about this for hours. Like, legitimately, there is so much more that we can dive into here, so much more that we can bring to life for all of you listening to this. But we are trying to keep to a time here. So now we're at the point of the show where I do need to ask you the same question I ask everyone, which is, what are 3 practical tips? So everyone listening to this right now, Peter, what's 3 things they should be doing to move the needle for their business?
Yeah, it's a great question. Although I think we've probably done those.
You've just given us like 20 different things already. But
So I think for me, context, look at the activities that you're doing. If you can't bring them down into return on investment and why you're doing them, stop doing them. Number 2, build out your ideal client profile and build the list. And I don't mean just like a paperwork exercise of, they're this style of, pharmaceutical. So that build the list, of whether that's 2,000 companies, 10 people per company, whatever it is, come and get it done. The tools are so easy to do that nowadays. You can find people on Upwork to do it, so you don't have to do it yourself. Build a list. And then I don't oversimplify it. Whatever mechanism is easiest for you, contact them. you know,
Love
and,
that.
and the
Yeah.
fourth one is have a front end offer to offer to them, put in front of them and say, would you like to go ahead with this?
I love that.
Yeah,
I'm going to
so-
add a fifth one in there, which is actually contact Peter. Seriously, if you want to put together, if you're in that B2B consultancy space, you want to put together a front end offer, you want to put the irresistible offer together, be able to get in front of your clients. Just go and see. In fact, I'm going to put links to everywhere you can connect with Peter in the show notes for this episode. So really simple. Go to chasingtheinsights.com, look for Peter's smiling face, laugh at the fact that he's somehow been in business or drawing on 25 years of experience. But then reach out and click on all those things, connect with Peter, connect with him on social, go to his website, check out his program and things as well. Go on the wait list for that because it is going to impact you and your business. Peter, thank you so much for joining us, my man. Absolute honor and privilege having you on the show.
Thank you. It's been absolutely brilliant. Like you say, could have talked for hours, but thank you very, very much.
Well, cheekily, I mean, this was just a chance for you and I to hang out. I mean, we thought, hey, if we're going to hang out anyway, let's push record and bring all this to all of you listening to this right now, because honestly, Peter is a lot of fun to hang out with, but also he knows what he's talking about. And this is the thing on this show. As you guys know, I don't have sponsorship. I don't have advertising, anything like that. I'm not paid to say anything about any of these people, but I can tell you now that having met Peter, having talked to Peter, he's one of the genuine ones that actually understands what he's doing. So make sure you go and reach out to him and make sure you click on all those things. And also, if you haven't already, click on that subscribe or follow button. That way you're notified every time there's a new episode. But more importantly, you don't miss out on the gold that you just heard right now. Seriously, go back, listen to this episode again, this time with a pen, with a paper. Write down your notes or type whatever I'm old, so pen and paper works for me. Or type it up, whatever you want to do. But take those notes and then take action. Actually apply it, put it into practice. It will get you the results. Anyway, my friends, as I said, don't forget to subscribe and follow. Don't forget to click on all those links. Now, that is the formal part of the show out of the way. But before we rush off, and I know every single one of you are going to do the same thing, which is like, I need to go and connect with Peter. I need to go and get on that wait list. I need to go and sign up, connect with him on social, all of these kind of things. I need to apply all this stuff. Yes, you do. But I want you to pause for a moment and I want you to be present because I want you to hear something. And it's something that is actually really important. It's something you may not have heard before. And it's certainly something that you don't hear enough. And that is the fact, my friend, that you are incredible. You're actually an amazing human being. And I don't care if you feel amazing, if you know you're amazing, if you've been told you about, I don't care about any, I'm telling you now, it is truth. It is fact. You're an incredible human being. And you are incredible for so many different reasons. But the one I'm going to pick on here, the one that matters for us right now is the fact that you are an entrepreneur, which means you're one of the very small percentage of human beings that have the courage, the tenacity, the passion, the creativity, and the slight amount of craziness to actually birth something new into this world. And I want you to pause for a moment again and just think about what that means. Think about what you're doing. You are taking something that does not exist, a thought, a seed, an idea, a concept. You are taking this abstract thing and you are calling it into existence. You're literally birthing it into this world. That is freaking awesome. So on behalf of both Peter and myself, we want to wish you all of the health, all of the wealth, all the happiness, the success, and the love that you so rightfully, and I do mean rightfully, deserve. And before you run away, and I know you're all hanging out to go and connect with Peter, but before you run away, a couple of quick things. Firstly, I want you to do something for both Peter and I. And this is really important. I want you to treat yourself with kindness, to treat yourself with respect, and more importantly, to treat yourself with love. And there's a very simple reason you want to do that, my friend. It's because you deserve all of those things. You deserve kindness, you deserve respect, and you deserve love. And the other thing that I want you to do for Peter and I before you run away is on those days that you are struggling, and let's get very realistic for a moment, we all have those days, right? You're an entrepreneur, which means you signed up for a crazy roller coaster ride. And you know what happens with roller coasters? 1 minute you're at the top and you're like, yes, I'm winning at life. Everything's going my way. Those high ticket items are selling like hotcakes. This is going beautifully. And the next day you wake up and you're like, I can't do this today. I've just faced a rejection or some obstacles come in my way and it's just overwhelming me, or I'm full of anxiety, or I don't want to turn up and do that live. I don't want to follow up with that client. I don't want to talk to any of my clients. We all have those days. So I want you to promise Peter and myself something. On those days that you are really struggling, I want you to reach out to someone who wants you to succeed. So reach out to your coach or mentor if you've got one. If you don't have one, please do get one for your business. It will transform your business, possibly even transform your life. So get yourself a good coach or a mentor. Reach out to them. Reach out to your peers. Reach out to friends and family if that's appropriate. Reach out to Peter. Reach out to myself. We are in your corner and we want you to succeed. So keep putting one foot in front of each other, my friend. Keep pressing in. Keep treating yourself with kindness, with respect, and with love. On the days that you're struggling, please make sure you reach out and ask for help. Now, this is Chasing the Insights. I'm Vince Warnock. You, my friend, are an absolute legend. Don't you let anybody tell you otherwise, and don't you dare forget it, or Peter and I are going to fly from other ends of the world to wherever in the world you are. We're going to stand outside your bedroom window with a megaphone, and all day, all night, for a week, we're going to just constantly remind you how amazing you actually are. Anyway, my friends, I will see you in the next episode.